So, Luka, you have a double mastectomy. I assume you're living sort of as a boy, right? You're, presenting now as
Yes.
male. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
In
did you,
whatever that means.
yeah, did you start testosterone after that?
Yes. So I had the double mastectomy in July, and then November of that same year I was put on testosterone.
And how long were you on that for?
I took that for 4 years,
Wow.
from
And
16 to 20.
what did it do to you?
It made my voice deeper. It changed my skin and hair texture. It gave me really bad like acne. Um, it made like body hair texture change. It essentially also just launched my teenage body into a chemically induced menopause.
Right. Just chaos. It just seems like you're taking a God-given natural born system and creating utter chaos in it. The What were those 4 years like before I get to the detransitioning piece? Like, what describe your happiness, your interactions, your life for those 4 years?
I, tried my best throughout those 4 years. And to a certain extent, when you have everyone around you telling you this is the right thing, you should be so happy, you should feel good about this. Of course, there is a level of like placebo to that. Of course, when everyone around you is affirming this and telling you you're right and that this is the good thing to do, of course you're going to go along with that, especially after having just come off such a awful time in your life where you were at your lowest. Um, and of course, you have the effect that testosterone is it's a steroid. It's gonna give you energy. You're
Yeah.
gonna feel good, and it was that mixed with all the other mental health medications I was on at the time.
Yep.
But looking back at it, I didn't realize just how disconnected I felt from everything in my life until I detransitioned, disconnected from my physical self, from just everything, everyone around me.
Were you
To the point
having
where
any yeah, sorry, go ahead.
to the point where I was so disassociated from myself throughout those years that when it all came crashing back down, it felt like the emotional equivalent of being hit by a bus, essentially.
Were you, people often confuse gender with sexuality. They're two separate highways. And just because you think you're trans doesn't mean your sexuality changes at all. So you were a straight girl when this all started, as I understand it, yes?
Uh, I suppose more or less, yes, yeah.
Okay, okay. And then you start transitioning, or for 4 years you're living, quote, as a boy. And during that time, I mean, most 16 to 20-year-old young girls are starting to have some hormones kick in for sexual attraction, whoever you're attracted to, whether you're a lesbian or you're straight. Was that happening, and was it confusing given what you were doing over here in the gender lane?
Um, it was confusing in like there's two separate aspects I suppose I could divide this into. You have the aspect of, okay, my body is being pumped with high amounts of testosterone, and that's just wreaking havoc on everything and making everything very confusing and kind of warping um any attraction I had. And then you had the aspect of just navigating the world like that, and also not knowing what to do because of the fact that the sexual trauma I had was never addressed in favor of the gender thing. So then you have essentially a 16 to 19-year-old who doesn't really have a picture of what healthy relationships looks like, has these raging wrong hormones in her body that are throwing everything out of whack, who's on mental health medication that is also throwing everything there out of balance. And just a very confusing time where there never was a serious relationship in any of that, because I don't think at the time that would have been possible given what was
Mm,
happening.
this is so cruel. So what was it? What did it for you, Luka, where you were like, wrong choice. I don't want this.
I grew up a little. And I think that is the most simple way to put it is I grew up. Um, I grew up and I was able to think about the world and my future in ways that just were not possible at 16 years old because I was a 16-year-old. Um, we don't necessarily consider teenagers the ones with the best long-term decision making in the things they do.
That's right.
Um, but it was a combination of that is like the overarching theme. It's just I grew up. And then you got into the other aspects of, okay, I'm able to think about, do I want children? What do I want my serious relationships to look like? You have the health complications at that point I was experiencing from testosterone. And then you have another overarching theme of, I don't want to be chained to a medical industry. I want my freedom. I want to be able to go places. I want to be able to not be reliant on this medication that is now at this point hurting me.
What's the story normally? Like in your experience, Mary Margaret, is there a trigger for most detransitioners so they know they're done? Like, how does the light bulb come on?
I found it was kind of different in a lot of cases. Like Helena Kirshner was in a relationship with another girl who identified as a transgender man. And that person made Helena a slideshow of their relationship. And Helena saw how she had gone from being this kind of happy teenager to just being this really sad, hurting person. And she saw visible photos of this, and it made her just kind of crack and realize, oh my gosh, look what I have done here. Here's where I am. She started sobbing, and that was her realization moment. But I think for some of the other people like that I've been talking to, kind of like Luka shared, it was more of a moment of I'm not feeling better, and then oh. Is there something wrong here? Why am I not feeling better? I was told that I would find happiness on the other side of this. And that's something I brought up a lot, actually. And Luka, maybe you can chime in on this, is the idea that happiness is on the other side of the hell that is this surgical and medical transition. You know, that doctors are telling young people, you will be happy if you go through all of this, not just that you will be a man. And that's not something that we tell people in any medical field, you know, that you will be happy if you get this breast augmentation or something like that. That's just not how medical professionals speak. And
You're
yet
right.
that is what is being sold to these young people, often young people who are looking for identity. They're looking for happiness. I mean, that's a human thing, right? Like we're all searching for happiness at the end of the day. And so to harness that desire, that very human desire, is evil. And that is what these medical professionals have been doing.
Luka, can you just say, so you get to this point and ultimately you do a very smart thing, which is hire our pal Harmeet Dillon, who's a brilliant lawyer and one of the few who's truly unafraid to go after true villains. And so who are you suing?
I am suing the main gender clinic doctor, the therapist that wrote all my letters and was the first to like really affirm me, the one I mentioned earlier. And then also the surgeon who performed the double mastectomy.
And are your parents relieved now that you've transitioned back?
I think in some ways that was, a very hard conversation to have. I phrase it as telling my mom that felt like the emotional equivalent of slapping her in the face. Because I knew me telling her that would hurt her. And that's not something, anyone wants
Because
to
she
do
wanted you to be a boy or because she participated in all of this?
because she had her reservations and was not listened to by me. They were, any reservations she had were squashed out by the therapists and the doctors.
That
And
would be
having
hard.
someone who had that protective instinct and tried to say something and then coming back years later and going, you were right, I should have listened to you. And knowing that in her heart, that must hurt, knowing that everything happened and she was correct.
As we draw near another critical election, it's not just about casting your vote. It's about elevating your voice. I want to tell you about the Association of Mature American Citizens, or AMAC. This is more than just a senior discount organization. They unite like-minded patriots committed to preserving our cherished values and actively opposing the leftist agenda. As AMAC's membership grows, Washington listens. Every new member strengthens this movement. If you love America, check out amac.us/Megyn. It's amac.us/MEGYN, and consider becoming a 4-year member for just $30. Best money you've ever spent. AMAC membership gives you access to the AMAC magazine, free Social Security and Medicare guidance, money-saving discounts, trusted news, sweepstakes, and more. Take advantage of their election year sale, 4 years, for just $30 by joining the over 2 million members and get your voice heard. Join now at amac.us/Megyn. That's amac.us/MEGYN. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.